Termite got a haircut.
Getting a promotion, so had to clean up. I get a clean shave.
No more party up front. Or no, party out back. Business up front.
All right. Here we go. All right, it's time. Hemi's going in. So we've got everything we need. I'm still working out a few little fuel sending stuff, but it's nothing worth worrying about. So don't know. This is gonna be just kind of this video. My goal is, because it's probably a couple of weeks before this video is gonna come out. So my goal with this video though is the whole front end off, motor out. That's my goal with this video. So we'll see how far we get, but we want to take our time and document everything for anybody doing a Hemi swap. We know LS swap is popular stuff, but Hemi swap, there's not a lot of information, especially on Grand Wagoneer. So we want to take our time and be able to document stuff for you guys so that you can see. And even if you're doing an LS swap, there's still, other than the power plant, all the external stuff like fuel pump stuff, all that is pretty much all the same. All of that stuff is still going to help, even if you are going to be doing an LS or something else. So we want to take our time, document it all, and so let's begin. All right, so I've had a few people ask, what does it take to put a razor grill, which is what we have on these model Grand Wagoneers that came with those grills. They fit right on there essentially. You will need the headlight buckets, the round buckets and retainers. You'll need all of that. Obviously the grill itself. And the only thing that you're gonna have to modify on here, other than lining up, I had to build these little tabs here, right here, to be able to have something screwed back. So you got to make you some little tabs. That's probably the hardest part, because you got to make sure your headlight, once it's in there and locked, that it's flat. And then you'll have to cut these tabs right here. There's some tabs that have a little boss that screws to the bottom of those grills, so you'll have to cut that off. I left mine like this, and I even kept the tab so that if I ever did want to go back to that grill, all I got to do is re-weld those back in, and I'm golden. Other than that, I think they just barred in. And you'll need the bar, the hood bar here. Need to find you one of those. And they just bolt in. Factory holes are still under there for that. All that's just right in. You just got to find you a hood bar. So other than that, the grill will go right in. So you can see we got the winch off. I'm finna get the mount off, get the bumper off. Probably go ahead and get the headlights out, get this whole front end stripped, and I don't know what I'll do after that. We're just gonna keep chipping away at it. That's the end of day one. Didn't get real far. We did get the headlights out, the grills off, the bumpers off, the winch. All that stuff is off. tomorrow we'll kind of just start working our way in. And I do think in this video we will get the motor, trans, all that stuff will be pulled. Unless barring something happens, whatever. So, advice from somebody who I may have never done a Hemi swap before, but I've done multiple. Restored this, which I know you can't see it now, but the whole Super B, 8-year restoration there. I've done a number of engine pulls and installs, and one thing I can always recommend is just keeping up with everything. Now, I'm using Wonder Woman sandwich bags. You don't have to use Wonder Woman sandwich bags. But if you want to, you can. I also have pretty much the entire Avengers. So, we got Captain America down in there, So you don't have to use these if you don't want to. But I do recommend sandwich bags. They just labeling, front bumper, grill, wherever. And what I do is it's a little slower pace. Now, when I was younger and I would do stuff, I would just tear into it like an ape. And I would lose bolts, forget where everything went. It was a chaotic mess. I hate working in a dirty, nasty, spot. So my goal is at the end of every day, and this is what I always try to do at the end of every day, is clean up. Put my tools, get them up off the floor, get everything wiped down, kind of just, I may not put everything back in my toolbox, but make sure all of my bolts are picked up, all the nuts are picked up, labeled in a bag, any parts that I pull off. Have you a plan of where you can be storing stuff. That helps. Pre-planning like that. I got some stuff's going to go in the loft. I got cabinets over here. Some stuff's going to go in. And so if you kind of have an idea then say, okay, when I pull this off, this is where that's going to go. It just kind of keeps your work area clean and a lot easier, man, just to stay motivated. Because that's one of the most discouraging things to me is trying to work, but you're stepping on tools and there's oil dry everywhere. I like to, at the end of the day, kind of clean up as much as I can so that the next day when I come back out, I can go straight to work and I'm not moving stuff around. So, all right, new day in the shop. Today's going to be the messy day. Because today we're going to get the whole front radiator support off and the radiator out. Start getting accessories off the front of the motor and kind of getting the motor unhooked and things around it. So, you guys who have ever pulled a radiator knows there's really no completely clean way to do it. I had originally thought about doing this outside, but the way my lift is positioned, it's so hard to move a vehicle in and out, so we're just going to do it right here. Try to limit our mess as much as possible. But first thing we're going to do, we're going to get the hood off just so I can have a little bit more light in the engine bay area to kind of see what I'm doing back in here and what I'm unhooking. Last night I got the reservoirs, both of those undone, and out of there I got the battery out. Just kind of, I got bored last night, because it gets dark at like 6, and so I got bored and I just come out and was kind of piddling and got all of that stuff off and ready. So I'm waiting on Andrea. She's going to come out and help me. We're going to get this thing off and start making a mess. All right, shrouds off, draining the radiator. I was wanting to do this last. I was going to try to get everything off the front that I could because, as you can see around it, there's just no way to drain a radiator and it be clean. Plus, the weather's so muggy and humid. I know once this, you can see how wet my floor is. This is just the air. So I know once this floor gets wet, it's going to be wet. Even with oil dry and stuff, it just, So I'm trying to limit my mess as much as possible because getting underneath there. But there's only 2 bolts left, and I'll be able to pull the whole front support off, the whole with the grill and the headlights and all that stuff. All that's gonna be accomplished. Got 2 more bolts that are right inside, right by the radiator. So figure we'll go ahead and get the radiator out of the way. I can get to them a little easier. We'll get that off, and then either accessories or fenders. I don't know which one. I may go with accessories first, kind of get some of the motor cleaned out around. Another little tip for anybody who may be doing this for the first time. This is an old vehicle. 89 to me doesn't sound old, but it's old. I mean, that's a, what, 34-year-old vehicle. So like these bolts that hold all of this together, which are all right here, they've been in there for 34 years, have not come out. So take your time. PB Blaster, you can see the puddles of oil where it has run down from me just soaking everything. Soak it good, let it set. If you need to put a little heat to it, get you one of those little torches like that one. Put a little heat on it. Because breaking bolts off is just really aggravating. It's just really annoying that you got to deal with later on. So take your time. I don't use my impact on breaking stuff loose like that. I use my wrenches. I got a little extender wrench there. I use those to slowly just be able to crank it loose, oiling it the whole time. Because, you know, I'm kind of one of those weird people that, you know, even down to the bolt. If the bolt came with Termite, I like to put the factory bolts back in it. So I know we're saying, well, you're putting a whole new motor in it. Why don't you swap? I know, I get it, but you know, it deserves to be taken time and ease them out. You're actually making it longer by trying to rush and snapping them off. Because it's a lot longer to try to get a broke off bolt off than it is to take your time and ease one out. And then of course, before you put them back in, clean them. These will be soaked. So like these that have the rust on them, we're gonna clean all that rust will be gone. We'll soak them in vapor rust and stuff like that before we put them all back in. So everything when it goes back together will be original bolts, but it'll be clean and you know, ready to do another 34 years. So anyway, we're just gonna wait, let this drain and get the radiator out. All right, well, here we are at the end of day 2. See, the clip is off. I've never pulled a front clip off of a FSJ before. Done plenty of like power wagons and trail dusters and Ram Chargers and all that kind of stuff, but never done a Wagoneer. So I didn't know exactly the order that you go in. So usually you pull the core support, then you do the fenders, the fender wells, all that kind of stuff. Well, on these, because of this little hook right here and how the fender curves back, you can't just take the core support out. The fenders have to either, I'm sure if you took one of them off, you could fish it out, but figured it's all gonna come off. So I ended up kind of backtracking and saying, why am I fighting? I'll just do the whole, which is kind of what I wanted to do, was take all this off together anyway. So that actually worked out pretty good. So there are, as far as taking the fender goes, there are bolts. You can see in here, there's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and then one down there, that online on the forums, they say you got to pull the doors off. I do not recommend that. As someone who has aligned many doors and the aggravation that ensues, I don't think you need to take the doors off. It's way easier. Just pull open the door. The bolts are here, and then here, there, and then the one down there. And I just took a regular 1/2-inch ratchet wrench, and they just came out. Now, if yours were seized up or something like that, it might be an issue, but Termites, I mean, they just came right out. So everything's in good shape though, man. I broke 3 bolts. 3 bolts was all that I broke. Let's see where they went. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But they were there's 4 at the bottom of the fender that go up you know, and hold it into the body. There's 2 on this side and 2 on the driver's side, and I broke 3 of the 4. So, and those are the ones that are down there that are always covered in mud, always setting in moisture. So it's not really surprising that they broke. But the other ones, I did not have one other bolt give an issue. So I take that as a good sign. But all of this is, I mean, other than being dirty, there's a little surface rust right there, which we'll address that. But it's not rot or anything. It's just a little surface rust. But other than that, man, everything just looks super solid. So, I mean, I know Termite is a patinaed ride, you know, and sometimes it may look like you may think that it's rotted out, but it's really not. It's actually a really, really solid vehicle, which is why we don't afraid to put money into it. So anyway, we broke 3 bolts out of the how many that I pulled today, because you got all of these. That's all your fender, core support, whatnot, right there. So 3 out of however many that is not too bad. So that'll end it for today. I'm gonna get cleaned up out here. Tomorrow, we'll get these fender wells off. We'll get all the accessories. Tomorrow, we should be able to get it down to the motor. Brand new clutch on that fan too. All right, both fender wells are off. She is looking very bare in the front. I got a lot of wiring this is like for the headlight relays, and because it does have the upgraded headlights in, you know, where you run off of a relay instead of the switch. So I got just a bunch of, you know, wires, got starter solenoid relays and all that kind of stuff over there that was on this one. Then you got all the headlight wires themselves and all this kind of stuff. So I'm probably just, what I want to do is just take my time. I'm not in a rush to do this. I'm not like I'm trying to have this thing running in 2 weeks or something like that. I'm willing to, I'm not going to drag my feet and make it take forever, but I do want to take my time and make sure that when I'm removing everything, I'm keeping up with what all it is and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of this stuff is like all of the wiring for the fuel injection. All right, so I want to get all of that off neatly because we're going to be selling all of that. And so, you know, just wanting to not just go ripping and tearing. I want to take my time, make sure I get everything off neat and clean. Friday, because it's obviously Wednesday now, Friday, I'm going to go ride my motorcycle. So I'm going to go ride Friday, and then Saturday it's supposed to be raining all day. So my goal is to pull the motor and trans Saturday. So fingers crossed we get that far. All right, today we're going to get all these accessories off the front. Plug wires, we're going to get the high wall fuel injection off, get all the wiring that goes with it, kind of start setting it outside. Going to have to go inside and get, because a lot of it we run under the dash. I'll show you how I did that too, in case anybody buys this one from me, or if you have a Howell, I will show you where I hid my computer. It's always worked well. We've never had an issue with it. Super clean. So I'll show you where I did that. And then we're going to get it up on lift and get everything unhooked. So today is just unhooking accessories. So nothing too crazy, pretty basic. I'll just update you guys as I go. We are now Getting ready to unhook everything on the transfer case. I've got the drive shafts are out right there. The exhaust is dropped, as you just saw. So now I just got to unhook like the shift lever from the T-case, then unhook the transmission, mount, shift linkages, all that kind of stuff. And we're done under here. And then we can lower Termite back down, and then just undo the motor mounts and pull it out. So we're getting real close. It's just gonna take a little while, finicky up in there. I'm really regretting not pressure washing underneath Termite before I pulled it in here. I mean, you can see the dirt and the mud, and I just didn't think it was as bad as it is. I didn't get under there and look. I was like, how bad can it be? You know how it is. You get so anxious and ready to get started on a project. But it is pretty nasty under here, as you can see. But yeah, just a good cleaning. I promise you, it's usually cleaner than that. But anyway, all right, guys, we are back in the shop today. Today, this is all coming out, or at least that's my plan. This is gonna be the final day of filming this video, which we wanted to end with the motor and trans coming out, everything coming out. So that's my goal today. I don't really have a whole lot left to do. I've got to get in here and unhook all the shift linkages and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to get the exhaust fully out without cutting it. I just would rather not chop the exhaust all up. So, but you know, it's not rusted. It's all wiggly. So I just got to get it all that out. I want to get the exhaust out. I want to get the transmission here unbolted, and I also have to get the transmission mount that goes across unbolted. It's got to come out anyway, so that we can see where the 545 RFE trans, where that's going to fall. I think it's going to fall. I read somewhere that someone said that combo with the Hemi is 1.5 inches shorter than this combo. If that's true, then the mount should be able to go right back where it is, and we just modify it to fit that trans. We'll see. But anyway, it's got to come out either way, because I was going to pull the transfer case by itself, but the bolts on the transfer are so high up in there, and it's so nasty, and so 34 years of grime and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I got to drop the trans cross member anyway, so I'm just going to drop that out, pull the whole thing as one whole unit. So so that's kind of the goal today. Once we get all that unhooked, then we're just going to come up under here, unbolt the motor mounts, and pull her out. So that's the goal today. So let's get to work. It's cold. It's nasty, raining today. I went and rode this yesterday. It was cold, and if you follow us on Instagram and stuff, you saw my post. I lost one of my brake pads. I was getting a noise from my rear brakes, and I was like, man, what is that? And so I stopped, and I don't know where I put it. So I stopped and I looked, and one of the brake pads had right here, had separated. So the brake pad just come completely off and was wedged up in the caliper. So no back brakes on gravel roads is not fun. And I was I don't know, 70 miles from home, out in the middle of DeSoto. But we got it home, had front brakes, they're fine, but just had to kind of take it easy, so it cut my day a little short. But anyway, went rode that yesterday, had fun. So now today, we're getting this motor out. All right, we are unbolted. Motor mounts are unbolted, just sitting there. Transmission mount is all unbolted. I just stuck a couple bolts back on each side and just kind of finger tightened them to hold that up, as well as the center mounts. They're completely unbolted. So the motor is essentially just sitting right now. No bolts really holding it in. The exhaust is out, complete. Did not have to cut a thing. I know you guys are impressed by that, but no, if you go back, I don't know, a little over a year ago, we put that muffler on and we dropped the Y pipe when I put a rear main in it. So it's been apart over the last couple of years. So once I loosened all the clamps and it wasn't welded, just was able to wiggle it all loose. So kind of swept up under here a little bit, got it cleaned up, got some fresh oil dry here where the coolant's been steadily dripping, and power steering, stuff like that's been just dripping. So giving that a little fresh up. It's raining, it's nasty, and I know she's gonna hate it, but it's time to go get Andrea and get her out here, and let's hook this thing to a chain and get the motor out. I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet, but I wanted to stop for a second and say how hard it is to be tearing apart a perfectly good working vehicle. This has been super challenging for me to keep reminding myself that this will be worth it. You know, you almost wish that this thing was knocking or smoking or doing something, but it's not. Last trip we took, camping, I mean, it rolls. It just goes. I'll go to Hattiesburg, which is, you know, highway and interstate, and, you know, 65, 70. I mean, it's just rolling. It's just going. And so it's been kind of hard. It's been challenging that you are tearing apart a perfectly good working vehicle, but I know in the end it's going to be worth it. All right, guys, so one thing we had to do was we had to undo the parking cables to be able to swing the cross member out of the way. So if you undo those forwards, it will sag, but the cables will hold it. So we just had to unbolt them. That way you can see the cables back there. Let that fall back, and that allow the cross member to get out. If you pull the transfer case, obviously you're gonna save yourself a lot of wrestling. And also, if you wanted to pull these, which they have a little welded tab on top, so there's a little more to it than just pulling the bolts. But that would obviously give you a lot more room too. But you saw we got it. We got it out. All right, y'all. Well, it's out. So that's gonna end this video. It's raining today. Tomorrow we're gonna get Termite pushed outside, get it pressure washed, vacuum booster off for the brakes, get that off, and get the hydro boost in and start fitting motor mounts and stuff like that. That'll be next week's video. So thank you guys for watching. See you later. Get the vacuum. All right, guys.
Hang on, just intro to the video.
Intro to the video.
Thank you. That's really helpful when I'm editing. What was on?